Okay, today we're going to take a look at Drip Network. So Drip Network is a deflationary daily yield generating protocol on Binance. There are a number of aspects and facets to this protocol, so let's dive right in. Okay, so what is Drip? As I mentioned, Drip is a deflationary daily yield project. So what does that mean? Well, deflationary means they do not print new tokens. So they have a cap on the number of tokens, and it's around 100,000. Daily yield is they are similar to a lot of the kind of projects like Horde, for example, or loaded nodes, where they give you a certain percent yield every day, capped at a certain amount. This all runs on the Binance Smart Chain network, and it really is composed of three parts. So there's the faucet, the reservoir, and the fountain. Those are the three major areas of the application, which we'll take a look at a little bit later. And so when you lock drip tokens into the faucet, this is again where you get the daily yield. You get a 1% return. So put your money in there. That money, in essence, is burned, um, sacrificed, whatever term you want to use. You don't have access to those funds anymore. Then you get a 1% daily return back, up to 365% of your original deposit. Then at that point, you have to either redeposit again, compound, do something else to continue to gain returns. So, you know, 3.65 times, the entry point is a really high yield that you would get overall over the course of, the time it takes to get that 1% daily return. Um, and the way that they get their yields are via taxes. So in general, they have about a 10% tax on their transactions. It varies a little bit in some cases, but that's in essence how they're getting money. So in essence, whenever a new person deposits or exchanges for drip, they get taxed 10%, and the community gets money gets some of that 10%. So in essence, it's similar to a Ponzi scheme. There is no you know, investment opportunities here. It's really just any new funds that get deposited into the system, help feed old investors. And the yield can be either withdrawn or recompounded. So we'll look at that in the dApp a little bit. So that's the faucet. The reservoir is very similar, where you're basically filling up a liquidity pool. So you deposit BNB. It transforms that to the drip BNB liquidity pool token called drop, and then that gets rewards from swap fees and whatnot. And again, there are some tokenomics around there. I believe they get a 2% kind of daily return, but we'll take a look at those as well a bit later. And then finally, the fountain, the third part of the app. This is where you just exchange, between BNB and drip. Um, so the faucet is where you lock in that drip, but the fountain is where you exchange. Again, if you use their native exchange, there actually is an incentive to do that because they waive any transaction tax for buying drip. Whereas if you try to swap on Pancake Swap, for example, you get hit with that 10% tax. So definitely use their dApp when doing any kind of swaps. But those are the three main components of the app. So the faucet to lock in to basically sacrifice funds to get a 1% daily return, the reservoir to participate in yield farming, and then the fountain page, which is just their swap. So without further ado, let's take a look a little bit further into what Drip has to offer. But before we get into the details, just a quick disclaimer, we are not financial advisors. The content on our website, social media, YouTube, everything is for education purposes only. So we suggest you do your own research, and that may include seeking the advice of a licensed financial advisor. All projects are investments, so that involves some type of risk, and there's no guarantee of success. So please do proceed with caution. Okay, so the team is relatively small. So this application was developed by Forex who is a developer, and BB, who is also a developer. He's also known as Crypto Kira on GitHub. And so we could take a look at the team real quick. Drip has a really nice wiki page, and so you can see their team here. The reason I want to bring this up is Forex has a large number of projects that he's been involved in, worked with, and with some relatively successful, results. So most recently, working on Animal Farm, but kind of most famously known for Drip. You can find out more information about them on Twitter or Medium there. BB, there's some information on GitHub. They even, I believe, store some of the contracts over here for Drip. So we'll take a look at code in a different video, but just definitely check out these two individuals, do some research. But there are some decently impressive metrics, right? So they developed Manor Farm, and it reached over 70 million total value locked. Animal Farm has 300 million total value locked. So again, a lot of good kind of work here and a lot of interest from the community. So that always gives a little bit more confidence in the team as we know that there are less of a chance of somebody rug pulling if they're on multiple projects because they're interested in the actual space itself as opposed to just kind of making a buck. So that's the team. All right, the tokenomics are interesting on this project. There's a lot of boxes and arrows here. But in essence, you start off always with BNB here in the middle. And you can swap it, getting charged a 10% tax for drip. Okay, so this is if you want to kind of get into the faucet type space, but you swap this again in the fountain part of the application. If you do this swap on their dApp, there's 0% buy tax. But if you sell or if you swap on Pancake or some other DEX, then you get a 10% tax, and that 10% goes to a vault, goes to a special contract in the system. Then if you take your drip and you want to deposit it so you can get that 1% daily reward, you will get taxed on that, and in essence the money gets taxed, but overall that money is sacrificed, right? So it goes into the vault. And then you start getting your 1% daily returns, from that. So that kind of gets you into the faucet space. And then from your 1% daily return, you can either claim it, which has a 10% tax, which will go to yourself, and then you can go ahead and swap back to BNB. Or you can compound that 1% daily. And if you compound, you get a 5% tax, but it goes back into the your overall deposited funds. And so you're kind of growing your investment. So if you keep on compounding, although there is a 5% tax, you can gain more from that. So if I have 100 in the system and I'm getting 3.65x on the overall return, if I compound it, then say that I gained one drip token, 5% goes off to be taxed. The other kind of remaining 0.95 goes into the contract, and now I have 100.95, which you can multiply that by 3.65, and then that will get you your ultimate rewards, your max rewards, so to speak. So that's the faucet kind of half of the system. If you decide you want to just deal with farming, you can swap your BNB to drop, again a 10% tax, and then that that 10% gets split a number of ways. 2% gets instantly distributed to any of the drop holders. So your drop token is increasing in value over time just by people participating in the system. Some money gets sent to the Reservoir pool, which ultimately pays back that 2% daily to the drop holders, and then 3% gets locked into the liquidity pool itself, so for people to exchange and whatnot. So that is the overall Reservoir side of the system. But we'll take a look at these a little bit further as we get into the dApp. The main things really to notice in the system are, in general, 10% tax, except for compounding, and then 1% return on the faucet, 2% on drop, and then there also are instant returns with drop. So that's the tokenomics in a nutshell. There are a number of other complexities, which we'll talk about here in a second. So referrals, Drip is really big into a referral type system. This is kind of like a multi-level marketing type scheme, right? So if somebody, let's say Diana, deposits money, a certain percent of her deposit gets sent to Chang, who referred her to the system, right? And so that's the very first deposit. And then if Diana makes a second deposit, it kind of jumps over Chang and goes to Bruno. And Bruno will get that that reward. And it keeps on going up the stack until you reach the top, and then it starts down again at the bottom. So it's kind of doing this like a fountain kind of effect where Chang will get rewards, then Bruno, then Alicia, then the dev wallet, then Chang, then Bruno, then Alicia, all while Diane is depositing. There are some caveats to this. Um, if you have a team here, say for Chang, for example, in order for him to receive the rewards, he has to have some BR34P tokens in their wallet. And that gives them a certain amount of depth, right? So if Alicia only has enough depth to cover Bruno, Alicia won't get any rewards from say, Chang or Diane deposit. So that's why there's that number for the BR34P tokens. So that in essence gets you a certain depth. And I think it's down to like 15, depth. But this is, really best illustrated on their wiki. So if you look at same screenshot here, they kind of go through an example. So if Diana deposits or hydrates, which is their version of compounding, a wallet on her upline receives a reward, right? So the very first time Diana makes a deposit, the reward goes to Chang. And Chang will receive the reward because he has enough BR34 tokens to reach one downline. So over here, BR34, you need 2 to get one downline, 3 tokens to get 2, etc. All the way up to you need 1,597 tokens to get 15 downlines. Okay, so Chang qualifies. And then next time that Diana deposits money, the reward goes 2 levels above, right? So it goes to Bruno, but Bruno has 0 tokens in his wallet. So Bruno does not get anything, and it goes up to Alicia. Alicia has 10 BR, so 10 would put her, roughly around here to get 4 downlines. And so since she's only 1, 2, 3 downlines, she can get those funds. And then the third time it goes 4 levels above, which is the dev wallet. And then since there's nothing above the dev wallet, the rewards reset to level 1 the next time that she rehydrates or deposits, right? So it kind of cycles through here. And so there are a couple of little kind of rules in here. So if the player's team has less than 5 members, then the player will receive 100% of the reward. If they have more than 5 members, then the player gets 75% of the reward, and then the person who deposits gets 25% of the reward. So that's the overall reward system. The reward is 10% of the deposit amount after taxes, or 5% after compounding. So it's just a quick way for them to kind of get to their 365%. And by the way, those rewards show up in the deposit section. Right? So it's a referral reward will show up here too, but it's deposits as if the user deposited that money, because then they can ultimately claim a certain reward based on that percentage. So that is how referrals work. And then there's one final spot that we should talk about for tokenomics and taxes, and that's a whale tax, right? So they want to prevent whales in the system, and so if you have let's see, for example, 50%, over 10% of the drip supply. So again, there's 100,000 tokens. So if you have over 10,000 tokens and you try to withdraw from the system, you get a hefty 50% tax. So it kind of progressively, increases the tax as you have more token. So those are the 3 main spots that we should look into for the tokenomics. So taxes and how the 3 apps work within the system, referrals, and then the whale tax. All right, next up, we're going to take a look at the dApp. So if you just head over to drip.community, we can take a look at how this works. So Drip, there are, again, 3 main spots to go. Trade is the fountain, also known as swap. Stake is the faucet over here, and then liquidity farm is the reservoir. So I've got my wallet connected, but you normally just click on this button here to connect the wallet. And if I go into swap, the very first thing you have to do, because this is a actually, um, because this is a team, based ecosystem, if you go in the faucet, you can actually fill in a buddy here. You have to fill in a buddy before you can actually deposit in this. Um, you can, either use their marketing and development wallet. I can put mine in the description here as well to use myself as a buddy if you like. But you definitely have to do that. So you have to fill this in first and click update if you want to use the faucet. But before we do that, let's take a look at the fountain. So again, you have to buy drip, based off of BNB, right? So BNB is roughly around 250, let's say. And my balance right now is 0.2, right? So I have around 200 in here. I actually want to spend half on the fountain, which will go into the faucet, and then half in the reservoir, which will be drop. So I'm just going to put 0.4, let's just say. And then I'm going to receive 120 drip. And my slippage tolerance is 3%. So that's why my minimum received will be 117 drip. So if I click buy on that, again, there are no taxes in this case because I am buying on their dApp. Hit confirm here. And then it'll just take a moment, and then my drip balance should update accordingly. Okay, great. So it's done. I could always look at the transaction if I want on the blockchain here. So again, $99 dollars roughly, or 0.4 BNB. I got 120 tokens, which was actually pretty close to my estimate received, right? 120.77. So I got a little bit more actually. So look at my drip balance right here. Okay. And so if I want to sell that, which I wouldn't because I just lose money right away because of the tax, you can just click the amount here or hit max and then click sell. And you get the 10% tax. You do have to approve the drip before you sell because that's part of the overall kind of Binance market. If you're trying to interact with a third-party token, you have to approve it first. Whereas with BNB, you don't. All right, so let's go over to Faucet and let's lock in those funds. So I'm going to lock in the max amount here. I'm going to deposit it. So right now I have zeros across the board. I'll deposit this amount. And again, this is roughly 100 USD. There was a 10% tax on deposits, right? So I'm depositing 120 drip, but really, after I do that, it'll be 120 times 90% is 108. And then I can get to 3.65% overall, which will get me 394. And then there's a 10% unstaking fee times 0.9. So I'll get 354. And then there is a 10% selling fee, so times 0.9 again. I'll have 319. And then my deposited money is gone, right? So I'm making basically, if I take off my $100 deposit, I'm making $219 overall. So that's 219%. So a decent return there from this. But just don't think it's going to be 365%. It's because of all the taxes and everything. It's going to be a little less than that. And how fast or slow you get that will also depend on if you're part of a team, if you're getting rewards and things like that. But anyway, so my deposits here. I have nothing available to claim yet because that'll happen throughout the time. My max payout is 406 drip, right? So it's the deposits times 3.65. Haven't gotten referrals, and then there's nobody on my team below me. And so this will update pretty frequently. So I'll check back on this at a later point in time. But that's the faucet. And by the way, if you want to hydrate You click on this, it'll take any of your available amount, throw it in your deposit, less the 5% fee, and then claim can take out any of the claimed amounts that's available. Like I've already gotten 0.001 drip. If I claim, then I'll have a tax on that. So the idea here is to come back here daily or in some type of frequency that works best for you to click on hydrate or claim if you want to take out the money, whichever you want to do. So that's the faucet. Let's next take a look at the reservoir. So this is again, supporting the liquidity pool. So the BNB drip pair, which you kind of see over here. So again, I'm going to do 0.4 as well over here, and I'm going to buy some drops. Also put buy on that. What this does behind the scenes, by the way, is it takes 0.2 BNB, which is one half of the pool, and then it takes the other 0.2 drip and converts that 0.2 to drip, and then it creates that pool, deposits that so people can swap them, and then there you go. So right now I have 0.09 drops, and then we can just kind of watch this increase. If I want to withdraw it, I can just click max over here and click withdraw. I'm done, but I'm going to just let it compound. So continue to increase. So again, if you want to compound or claim, you can do that from here. And then once you claim it, you can withdraw it. And that's it for the reservoir. So for both of these, I will probably make an update video and check in on my progress as we get further into this time. So that's it for the dApp. Right, so everything is going to have risks and safeguards. So the risks, the biggest thing with this system is that there is no current intrinsic value, right? We're not, investing in real estate that people are living in. We're not investing in the market where it gets gains and whatnot from trading. We're not investing in, whatever the thing is. So it's really just fed on taxes. So that's fine. You should just be aware that it's a game. It's just like kind of going to, maybe not so much a casino, but it's much more like a Ponzi type, setup. So just kind of be aware of the risks when you go into it. If everybody decides to stop, being involved in this project, they will kind of withdraw their funds, and they could potentially drain the account. Which gets to my second point. If their treasury does not have enough money to support withdrawals, then they will be inflationary. So they will print new drop tokens, or sorry, drip tokens, and then that devalues the token itself. Another risk is it is multi-level marketing, so just kind of be aware of that. They kind of gamify it with ways to go up 15 levels and pay up and down the stack and whatnot, but that is in most financial worlds not a great thing. Then as I mentioned, it's built on taxes, so it'd be great if they can get some kind of utility with all the locked funds that they have, but those are the risks at the moment. Safeguards, it has multiple projects and partnerships. Like I mentioned, they partner with Animal Farm. There is a large following. You see a lot about drip out there, so people seem to like the project, and as long as people are involved in it, it's going to increase. But the price over time has gone down, has decreased. They do have some money locked in their contracts, so you can always take a look at that, which we'll take a look at when we do the code deep dive. And it has been audited. So actually, let's take a look at that. So you can go over here and see their security audit, which was done by Slither, and it generally passed the audit. There are only a few minor kind of findings and whatnot, some informational ones down here. Right, some code type error where tax rate is always going to be greater than or equal to 0. And then over here, just saying this warning has no impact, since the vault can be updated. So, they didn't really find many things wrong with the project. I do always recommend. I do always recommend that people take a look at the contracts and whatnot. So look at the Faucet, which is probably the best one to look at. you can see, how much money is in there. So right now, they do have some money in this contract. They also, if you look at this, they send some money to a vault where you can get the drip vault address, and you can see, the vault. I think it'd be BNB. So it might be drip. They say, yeah. So they have like 2,000 drip tokens over here in this contract. Um, and you can do the same, for all of these contracts. So just like, take a look at how much they have locked in here based on, whatever token that you're working with. You can even kind of read some of the events here um, about, for example, who owns the contract, who's in a whitelist, things like that. But we'll take a deep dive into the code in a different video. Um, but just want you guys to be aware of, namely some of those risks. As always, the design of this slide I did not create. The content was all mine, but the design was done by SlidesGo. Take a look at them. There's Flat Icon and Free Pick, which are cool utilities, but I wanted to give credit where credit is due. Okay, so what are my overall thoughts on Drip? Well, I'm not a huge fan that it is it does, some referral money, multi-level marketing type tokenomics. I'm not a big fan that it's just using taxes. Definitely not a big fan that it's not providing any real world value. So really, I just treat this as a game. It's like the who wants to hold on the longest. The last one holding usually kind of loses. See how high it goes. If you are to invest in this, definitely keep a close eye on how much is in the contract, what's going on in the community. If the numbers keep on going up, it's always a risk, right? So always kind of proceed with caution. You saw that I just deposited 100 in each of those two contracts just to see where it goes. I'll provide some update videos as we go along, but just always proceed with caution. Whenever a project doesn't provide direct value, there's always a chance it can go away unless people like the game. So just kind of be aware of it. But that's the Drip Network. Like I mentioned, I'm going to go into a deep dive in the code in following videos. So stay tuned for those.